it's all seamless. You see, it's systemic. It's a systemic open world. It's unlike anything our team at Bethesda has done before. It's like taking a brand new souffle dish and saying, I've added cinnamon to this souffle dish and a dash more sugar and just a touch of artificial sweetener and a block of butter. Just a block of butter to the overall experience, and it's gonna make for the greatest open world space souffle you've ever seen. Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5-minute review again. If you've ever tuned in before, which you likely haven't, but today we're going to talk about STARFIELD. And I gotta say, if STARFIELD sucks, I'm breaking up with Bethesda. That's it. That's all there is to it. Just watched the official gameplay reveal. I rewatched it, I guess. And you know, it's very impressive. All 15 minutes of it, you know, all 15 minutes of that thing are showcasing a game that has a lot of potential. You know, a space opera, open world game. It makes my feet tingle with a sort of with a palpable sense of explorative pleasure. And anticipation. Okay, so anyway, yeah, STARFIELD. Yeah, this gameplay trailer brings a lot to the table in terms of exploration, and immediately shows a lot of things and kind of gameplay and design points that we know from other sci-fi properties, and kind of gets my hopes up for what could be a very solid exploration sci-fi action game.
All of this just works.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
Right off the bat, it shows us this Crete planet, and we are running through and shooting pirates, and basically it looks like your standard Fallout 4 gameplay. But this is not only, like, it looks good off the bat, it looks like a fun sci-fi action game, but because it immediately reminded me of Fallout 4, I'm going, oh, this is probably going to be another arcade shooting gallery, looter shooter, but in space and kind of disguised as a classic Bethesda RPG. And I'm not a stickler for the kind of RPG genre. I think if you make a good game, you promise it has heavy story elements, you stay true to that, and you make an experience that kind of has the best of both worlds, I suppose. So, no pun intended. So yeah, because it is an RPG. It is based off tabletop gaming, and that is the basis for why we love RPG experiences: the power of choice and imagination, and being able to talk your way out of things. So I think that the main character isn't voice acted, or at least fully or officially. I'm not even sure if that's been stated yet, but I don't think they are. So that's great, because that allows for that kind of going back to form with text-based sort of dialogue systems, and that just allows for more elbow room, I suppose, in terms of what the player can do. So if that is the route they're going, that does make me happy. But I'm not even fully sure of that yet. So we'll see. But yeah, it just, you know, Fallout 4 being a fun game, it is a fun game, but it just doesn't have the same kind of substance that other Fallout entries have had. And just playing through New Vegas again recently too, I was just thinking, like, wow, like they really put the time and effort into making this like the all-around perfect post-apocalyptic action game, because it's immersive with the story elements and the characters, and it's zany and everything that a Fallout story should be. And Fallout 4 is just kind of like, all right, you're in a post-apocalyptic environment, it's great, looks cool, but there's just not a whole lot going on aside from what it says on paper. It's like it's Terminator meets Blade Runner. and you're looking for your kid, and you're just shooting your way through everything, largely asking questions later. That kind of gameplay, and that's fine. I had my fun with it, but it has not nearly had the same kind of staying power that other entries have had, and that's just because of the whole immersion aspect and the heart and the yearning that these developers have to tell truly engaging stories. So I just hope that STARFIELD, a game that is highly anticipated by many, I'm sure,
All of this just works.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
Power to Bethesda. Power to them. I hope they blow this one out of the water. I really do. But again, the whole point of this fucking video is that if they don't, I'm done, I think, with Bethesda as a property, because Fallout 76, Fallout 4, it's just been a bit of a steady decline that we've been seeing, and with all the fucking Skyrim remasters and stuff, it's a great game, but it's also kind of in that steady decline. Like, you can see how things started to sort of dip story-wise and everything. It became a lot more shallow, a lot looser in terms of the quality and sort of thoroughness of the storytelling. And that's subjective, but that's just how I feel, And these games all look great for the most part. They function well, and they're, face value. Exploring them is a good experience. But then you backtrack a little bit. You go on a little field trip, if you will. If you like playing some of the older games, like my first entry, the first entry that I played in Bethesda catalog was Morrowind, and it just seemed like the hands of fate guided me towards the perfect RPG, and it really felt like this game. It's still today a game that I play. It still gets its hooks in me, even if I start again in a vanilla game. I mod the shit out of it, but that's fun. And but still, playing that game vanilla, while it is tedious at points, is still a very, very solid game. And you can be whoever you want to be, make the choices you want to make. You can kind of be a hazard to people. You can annoy them to the point where they want to attack you, and you can just be a complete pest, or this badass lone mercenary type thing. It just sets you loose, and it doesn't really give you a lot of markers or explanation of how things are gonna go. And I think that is the perfect layout for an RPG. I think that is the best way to sort of set you loose in a game like that. And it's like, okay, there is a big story here, but they're just kind of giving you the first little tidbit, and they'll kind of laying the breadcrumbs down in a direction. They go, okay, go in that direction. And then from there, you're just gonna have free reign to go whichever way you end up going. So that's good game design. That's a great RPG game design, and I think Oblivion did this fairly well too, but that was sort of the beginning of the extreme hand-holding in these games. Like, I remember beating the Oblivion main quest pretty quickly when I eventually got my hands on it, and I was a bit disappointed by the world and the characters, and it's just kind of because, like, Morrowind's like this alien fantasy. It's extremely interesting landscape, and Oblivion's more like you're kind of, I don't want to say basic, but it's kind of what you expect when you think of fantasy world. It's kind of like the tall trees and forests, and it's all cool. If you love Oblivion, I like Oblivion too. I like it, but it's not exactly my cup of tea in terms of in terms of the world design and everything, and the way it's all laid out. I like the spookiness. I like the atmosphere. All right, I like things that make me question my environment and feel a little bit uneasy, right? Like, that's what makes it interesting and endearing. And so I'm just hoping that Bethesda really looks back at these other games that they've made and go, okay, this is what's worked. And obviously these are game devs. This is what they do all the time. They do these things. They look at what really worked. But whether or not they actually put that into play, and what if they stay true to their guns and what they want to make, and they're not just pandering to to a kind of a new sort of fan base here completely, because I feel like they can do both. And with a game that's promising to be this big with like 1,000 planets, you know, that's a lot of fucking planets. That's a lot of places to explore. Again, another thing to say here is that I hope it doesn't fall into that trap of the sort of that No Man's Sky trap, I suppose, because I've tried to get into that game a few times too, and it's just so goddamn big that I can't stay interested that long, because it's so overwhelmingly vast. And not to say it's not fun and interesting to sort of fly around and see all the different planets and stuff, but you're not gonna see everything that you can see, or you will to an extent, because you're basically getting the algorithm and how it generates these in the procedural generation, how it generates these planets. Then you land and you explore, and but then you're kind of just doing the same shit over and over again, and you're not really meeting characters that are fleshed out. You're kind of meeting procedurally generated characters that have scripts written that are kind of generic, and they might teach you a thing or two, like a new word or a piece of history, but it just still felt kind of empty to me, is my point. And it's something that just didn't get it. It just didn't get its hooks in me. So I'm just really hoping that Bethesda really just skewers me with its hooks. You know, just Todd, just get in there with your fishing line and just hook me, and take me for a ride, because I want a good story, and I just want to be able to feel at home in this world, you know, in this space opera, which is already going a step in the right direction for me. I love this genre. I love sci-fi. I love kind of the questioning of your reality and your space and the universe, right? Like it's a really fun thing to play with. And I just hope they go in some weird directions and have some interesting characters. And I hope the planetary exploration isn't. I guess I just hope it's less No Man's Sky and more Morrowind or something. You know, it's just this more personable, more. I don't know. I just hope it's more gripping. I'm just saying the same thing over and over again here, but yeah, I just hope it's more gripping in terms of its story and in terms of its gameplay mechanics and how you explore the world and how you go on this journey, going character to character, and yeah, you know. But if Todd and his cronies try to sell me another nylon canvas bag, I'm gonna lose my lunch. Yeah, don't do that anymore, Bethesda, and Todd. You know, don't give people fake products. Don't advertise it incorrectly, and along with a game that's shit and doesn't work. So that is the thing, is that I am sick and tired of broken games. I think we're in an area right now in gaming that is a bit touchy. The environment's a bit different. The landscape of consumerism is different. People have so much on the go that producers don't want to put a lot of money into projects that, you know, that you want to kind of sink a lot of time into and figure things out for yourself, because understandably people have lives and people need to work and do things that generate an income and sustainable living, and it's hard to do that when you're focused on a 300-hour game that you're building a virtual life in. You know, it's tough to do that, but you know, that's, you know, you play it in increments, and you get the most juice out of that experience, and you play it when you can, and you know, people need to be so instantly rewarded, and just that feeling of I've accomplished something, and I think that can be done on sort of a, you know, on a quest by quest basis. and with shorter quests as well, I think, but still making it interesting and not so generic. Like, I think with a game this big, you're going to get a lot of quests that are, I forget what Todd and I forget what they call them, but I think I think I said it already, but systemic quests, things that are just kind of generated by the game system, by the engine, you know, things that are just generated by the engine itself, and basically procedurally generated quests that kind of loop quest concepts together. They did this in Fallout 4 as well, and it just kind of chains along these repetitive, similar kind of, I think the term would be samey quests, and you know, and I'm kind of 50-50 on this, because it's, if there's too much of this and you kind of end up on a roll of doing a bunch of these quests and it's just like busy work, or point A to point B, collect this, deliver it here, and I'm sure there will be a lot of that in this game, and that's not a bad thing per se. If it builds on the world, if you can be kind of like a space courier, for example, and you have to avoid pirates, and you have to, you know, I'm looking forward to what kind of difficulty levels there'll be with this game, because, you know, really having to kind of maybe scrounge for resources, and I'm not sure how much fuel pay will kind of be an aspect of the game here, but yeah, managing your ship's fuel and kind of going through an asteroid belt or something where you have to avoid raiders and get to these scraps to get to point B. You know, that stuff like that's great, and obviously the addition of space flight, the shipbuilding mechanics, the base building mechanics, and of course we've seen that before in both Fallout 76 and Fallout 4. So that itself doesn't get me really that excited at all. The shipbuilding, however, does, because obviously that's just freaking cool, isn't it? It's just fantastic to be able to be able to build your own ship and then fly it around like some sort of postmodern Han Solo. That is cool to me. I am in that rings my bell. You know, that gets my wind chimes a tingling, if you know what I mean. So that just sounds disgusting, but no, just that it's right up my alley. That's what I'm saying. You fuckers, you know that. So yeah, I just want to see this go in a direction that's enticing, you know, and that's full of heart, and really pushes the envelope in terms of what can be done with a game like this. And if it's a buggy mess, if it barely works, if it's boring and empty with 1,000 planets and not really a whole lot to grab me, then I don't know. I feel like Bethesda's not on the top of the food chain anymore. And not to say that every single developer needs to be good and enjoyed on any level, but there are just more thoughtful experiences, and I seem to be gravitating more towards kind of more linear, or at least, you know, games with open-ended environments, but it still kind of puts you in a direction to go, okay, there's a few different paths here, choose one of these paths, and that way you can come back to it again. And like a Metroidvania style game where, you know, there's so much great stuff can be done with that, because there's more of a direction and replayability to it. So that's a lot of time to be talking about Starfield. But yeah, if Starfield's bad, I'm breaking up with Bethesda. That's it. And I know that Microsoft owns both Bethesda and Obsidian now, so those are huge, heavy hitters, right? And Obsidian has arguably made far better RPGs, especially recently with the Outer Worlds, and now the Outer Worlds 2 coming out, and I think Avowed, that's the other RPG they're working on. It's kind of like a, you know, people have been saying Skyrim clone, but we haven't seen enough of it yet to really make that accusation. Or it's fine. Games copy games all the time, and just when they're done better, though, that's the thing. And when they add to this kind of gameplay style that just gets your heart pumping. Fuck, I'm weird, you know. But yeah, that just gets you going, and we want to see that. We want to see that kind of stuff. We want to see innovation, folks. We want to see heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears. The things that make good products. Because when you're a lazy fuck, copy and pasting things, it doesn't get you very far. And that goes with pretty much everything in life.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
You know, don't be a lazy fuck. That's my pep talk for today. All right? Hey, Bethesda, don't be a lazy fuck, all right? Shit. All right, thanks for listening. Time to pop an aspirin and call it a night.